Welcome back. Today is Monday, September 23rd, and with 61 members of a possible 100-person body present, I can call the meeting to order.
Welcome, everybody. Ooh, this is great. I can hear myself, and I think you can hear us. It's a major breakthrough. This is the Technology Committee in action, plus the systems folks from Town Hall, et cetera. I wanted to just take a minute before we get started to remember David Martin. He's a long-time volunteer in town, and most recently was a member of the Board of Finance. David served in this body for about 6 years on the Finance and Budget Committee before moving on to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. We'll take a moment now to remember David's distinguished service to this body and to the town. Thank you. On a happier note, I wanted to also take a moment to thank Kate Bush for her years of service to the town of Darien and to this body. I first worked with Kate myself when she was Director of Finance, and I was Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee. That was just yesterday. As your moderator, when I was putting together the agenda for the RTM, my first call would be to Kate to find out what needed to be addressed, and she would know. She was up to date on what was going on and what the timing was to get things done. She was always professional and thorough in being of assistance. So tonight, I ask you for a motion of thanks to Kate Bush for her great service to Darien and her wonderful support of this body. Can I have a motion, please? A second. All in favor? I applaud. Thank you all. Without objection, I'll accept the agenda. Any objection? Next is approving the minutes of June 17 for this body. Can I have a motion? Okay, and the second, please. Thank you, Joe. Are there any corrections, additions? Hearing none, seeing none. All right, ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hear none. Abstentions? You can turn them in if you have them. Great. Motion passes. Minutes are approved. Now, Krista will brief us on the vacancies and where we stand with the November ballot for the RTM.
Thank you very much, Seth. Okay, so for the November ballot, per charter, we are now past the deadlines for candidates' names to be printed on the ballot. The ballot is set, and I have now approved the proofs, and actually the ballots for the absentee ballots arrived today. So we are all set and ready to go. The absentee ballots will be sent out starting on October 4th. However, there is still an opportunity for a candidate to be elected at the November election, and that is via the write-in process. It's a two-step process. First, the candidate must register by signing the write-in form. I have copies here at the front desk. If anyone you know might be interested, or anyone who is listening, there are also copies in the town clerk's office. The second step, the write-in candidate must solicit his or her constituents of that district to write his or her name in on the ballot. You actually physically will write the name in. There's a line at the bottom of the ballot designated for write-in candidates. Per the town code, no member shall be elected who does not receive at least 25 votes of the electors of that district. Again, the deadline to be a write-in candidate is October 17th, which is the last business day for Darien prior to the start of early voting. So back to the ballot. This year, like the past years, the candidates' names will appear on the ballot in the order as determined during the lottery, which was held earlier this month by the town clerk's office. Thank you to Lois Schneider from District 1, who joined us as a member of the public to witness. A copy of the ballot is available to view in the town clerk's office, and I have a copy here. Each year, I also calculate the overall number of seats apportioned to each district. So, like the U.S., you are not Congress, you are the House of Representatives. You represent your constituents based upon the respective population of each of your districts. This is described in detail in Appendix B. So, based upon the calculations, in the November 24 election, the allocation will be as follows. District 1 will have 16 seats, District 2, 16, District 3, 17, District 4, 16, District 5, 18, you're the California in the group, and District 6, you're 17. Based upon, as the ballot is printed right now, before the final tabulation of write-in candidates, this is the breakdown of open seats. So this is where we're going to start in November. District 1, 1 open seat. District 2, 3 open seats. District 3, 6 open seats. District 4, 4 open seats. District 5, 2 open seats. District 6, 5 open seats, for a total of 21 open, unfilled seats beginning the new term. Lastly, following the results of the election as stated in Town Code, Appendix B, Part 2, Section 4, the maximum number of 2-year terms shall be a bare majority of total allocated representation. Where applicable, successful candidates may then serve only a 1-year term rather than 2. And I am happy to discuss that offline if anyone has further questions. Can you just repeat that, please? The last part? Okay. The maximum number of 2-year terms shall be a bare majority of total allotted representation. Where applicable, successful candidates may then serve a 1-year term rather than a 2-year term. Any questions? Okay, well then, please spread the word, PSA announcement. We can use more people on the RTM. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Krista. I would urge everyone to look around their neighborhood, talk to their friends and neighbors, and tell them the extraordinary opportunity they have to come and serve the town right here. And the other thing is that if you really want to start to know about how the town runs and what goes on, this isn't a bad place to start. Next is item 2433, appropriation of bond authorization in the amount of, I think it's $3,354,000 now, subject to correction by the chair of F&B, Mr. Davis. Thank you.
It's a little bit out in your face. I'm Jack Davis, District 3, RTM Finance and Budget Chair. I move 2433, resolution appropriating $3,345,900 for the cost to repair Durham Ponds Dam and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of $3,345,900 to meet said appropriation. Do I have a second? I have Jenny. I was going to give a brief background, but Oh, you can't hear me. Usually people say they hear me too much. I was going to give a brief background, but the lease is going to be covered by Amy. What actually is work is being done is going to be covered by Mark. Both of them are way beyond my pay grade. I will say that the document that everybody received in their package with the finances that said $3,354,000 was an older document and not the document that went before the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. There was a little bit of snafu. I was trying to get it out today, but I'm going to go through what the real numbers are as what was approved by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. Bid results are $2,760,000. Extra effort to address FEMA inquiries is $60,000. Inspection, construction, administration is another $60,000. Permit conformance is $10,000. 10% contingency, which is on the construction, is $276,000. There's $10,000 of issuance costs associated with the bond, and while the town has already spent $188,000 associated with the preliminary part of this, only $169,000 of that can be bonded because of the timing of it. So that's part of the differences that are there. That actually adds up to $3,345,900. So, in theory, we could get as much as 100% back, and that actually includes about the $18,000 that we spent but didn't get back. The requirement is that the project has to be completed by October of 2025, and all the amounts have to be paid and submitted to FEMA. Now, the problem is, if there is a problem, is that FEMA doesn't necessarily pay quickly. So we're going to spend $3.3 million plus change. There's a potential when I raise this at the Board of Finance that for the first year and maybe the second year, we do a bond anticipation note to bring back some of our money, because even though we have a good general fund, we're not having $3 million sitting out there for 4 years. So the next question is, we go out and we bond it. What happens when the $3.3 million comes back to us? We don't want to have a slush fund, and so that was a concern. So what's going to happen is, if we get the full amount reimbursed, the $3.3 million plus change, it goes into our bond fund. Now, we're not going to retire the bonds that we just did. What we will do as a town is use those funds to offset another appropriated and bonded initiative that has received approval from the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the RTM. So as an example, if we're going to go and bond, let's say, for one of the HHR, we would reduce that bond by $3.4 million to reduce the amount that we now have received. So I just wanted to clear that up, because that was an important aspect from the financial aspects of this endeavor. The Finance and Budget Committee voted unanimously to approve the appropriation and bonding authorization and recommends the same to the full RTM. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Speaking on behalf of the Public Works Committee, Mark Adaletta.
Thank you, Seth. Can everyone hear me okay? got to get the right distance. All right, thank you. My name is Mark Adeletta, and I'm chair of the Public Works Subcommittee to the RTM. We're still okay on the volume? I saw some wincing, okay. At the regular session of the Public Works Committee held September 9th, with 8 of 14 present, the Public Works Committee considered and voted unanimously to recommend and approve Resolution 2433 appropriating $3,345,900 for the cost of repairs to Gorham's Pond Dam and authorize issuance of bonds to meet the appropriation to the full RTM. The committee reviewed prepared documents, information pertaining to the needed repairs at Gorham's Pond Dam, provisions relating to the use of ownership, lease status, and bonding treatment were all reviewed. The consensus was reached that the dam repairs were needed under the terms of the town's current proposal. Here's some background just to go along with this. This bond resolution was presented to the Board of Selectmen August 8th. The town previously had approved, as your package states, $160,000 for design and survey costs. The cost of the project, an additional $3,185,900 for this total, is what makes up the total appropriation. The cost to repair Gorham's Pond Dam includes design, stone dam repair, sheet piling for dewatering, concrete topping, slab replacement, replacement of a portion of the dam soil's core, surveying, tidal wetland delineation, and soil testing, alterations, repair, and improvement, as well as engineering, architectural, and some sort of administrative and printing, legal, and financing costs. This appropriation is inclusive of any state and federal grants. Mr. Davis covered the rest of the financing, so I'm not going to get into any more detail on that. A summary of the project for the public was prepared by the Public Works Director. How did we get here? Well, the Gorham's Pond Dam is located, as we all know, adjacent to the Rings End Road Bridge, and it impounds the river water from Stony Brook and the Good Wives Rivers, as well as tidal waters. Back in September of 2021, Storm Ida caused damage requiring extensive repairs. This damage, which I found interesting, was compounded by the storm hitting at low tide when the front of the dam was exposed. At the time, the town did emergency temporary repairs in-house with a DEP permit, hired a consultant to survey, design, repair, assist with an application for FEMA, and the permitting process through DEP for the final permanent repairs ultimately to be performed. As Mr. Davis said, the share of the FEMA grant won't be known until after the project is complete. The Gorham Pond Dam and Rings End Bridge, well, we all know are landmarks in town, and the road rests directly above the dam, and the understanding is that it may be at risk without protection of the dam from further erosion or scour, as it's called. That bridge not only carries pedestrian traffic, but it also has sewer lines and various utility lines that serve approximately 130 properties south of the bridge area. The status of the lease, just a brief summary. I know that's going to be covered by Amy shortly, but Gorham's Pond Dam has been in place for well over a century. The town had accepted ownership responsibilities as, for many years to maintain the condition of the dam as a condition of entering into the lease back in 1924. As part of the lease, the town was obligated to repair, rebuild, maintain the dam. That lease terminated in 2023. Amy will get into the details, but our understanding is that in the meantime, the law presumes, as there's no current lessor identified, that the law presumes that the lease will continue on a holdover basis, and the town's obligations continue. So again, the Public Works Committee voted unanimously to support this resolution. Thank you. Was that fading in and out a little bit, Seth? It was, wasn't it? I don't know if that was me or
Your head moving, or?
I don't know, was I moving?
I don't know. How's this? How's this? How's this? Oh, we could, you don't want to move your head. Yes, very sensitive. I'll now introduce Amy Zabatakis to speak on behalf of the Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee.
Hi, I'm Amy Zabatakis, Chair of Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee. Yeah, it is going in and out. In connection with this resolution, the Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee was asked to report to the RTM on the status of the lease of Gorham's Pond Dam. The town leased this dam for a period of 99 years that began on February 4th, 1924. Under the terms of the lease, the town was to pay a nominal rent of 1 cent per year, but was required to repair any damage to the bridge. It's worth noting that because the damage that we're talking about repairing occurred in 2021, this damage occurred during the term of the lease. So therefore, the lease itself is not actually relevant to the resolution that we're voting on today. However, the lease term has now ended. So the PZ&H committee did want to be sure that we understood and reported to the RTM on the status of the dam lease as we move forward. At our regular meeting on September 12th, 2024, First Selectman John Zagrodzky and Town Attorney Wayne Fox met with us and explained the status of the lease, as well as the steps that the town has taken to identify the current owners of the dam. As far as the status of the lease, since no one has sought to terminate the lease, no owner has sought to terminate the lease, it continues on the same terms as is in the 99-year lease on a year-to-year basis. The town has undertaken efforts to identify the current owners of the dam, which would be the heirs of the original owners, who were the original signatories to the lease. But those searches to date have been unsuccessful. Under the circumstances, our committee was comfortable that the town does not need to take any additional steps at this time and should continue to abide by the terms of the 99-year lease on a year-to-year basis.
Okay, are there any other, let's see, oh boy, I know I shouldn't have done that. How's that? Okay. Any other committees which report? Town officials, comments? Okay, the body, members of the body? Yes, Liz.
Liz Bacon, District 2.
Now that one, is that
Hello?
one? It may not
you
be
hear me?
on. No,
Okay. Liz Bacon, District 2. I have just a couple of questions. As Amy mentioned, it is an iconic bridge in town. Is the bridge going to change the way it looks in any way as a result of the dam work that's going to be done? That's number one. Number two, are we coordinating this with the Great Island entrance, which is right there? Like, is there any attempt to make sure they are in harmony with each other if it is changing the look of the bridge? And number three, the Friends of Gorham's Pond, I see these signs along the Gorham's Pond. Are they involved in this in any way? Those are my questions.
okay. Yes. Jack, you have a thought on that?
It's a green button, does that, it says green. Hello? All right.
Yeah.
It's not that I have the answers to this, however, back there is Ed, and as you were answering the questions, he was shaking his head one way or another. So to question number one, no, it's not going to change the look of the bridge. So therefore, number 2 question also remains no, because it's going to be the same, and the Friends of Gorham Pond have not been involved. So for those 3, I can, based upon the head nodding, rather than having Ed after a long day coming up here, I figured I'd go and give him a break.
May I just add there for the record, the person to whom Jack is referring is Ed Gentile, the Darien Director of Public Works.
Thank you for that public service, Jack. Okay, where was I? Yes, Frank.
Good evening. Frank Edelman, District 6. Just a quick question. If we had an obligation to pay a penny of rent every year, have we not been making those payments if we don't know to whom to send that penny, and therefore are we delinquent on this lease if we haven't made the payment?
I'll recognize the attorney standing next to you there. No? Yeah.
So the question was, have we not been paying the penny? And the answer is no, we have not been paying the penny, because generally in leases, you put a nominal amount just so that there is consideration for the lease, but it's usually actually $1, so we're getting away cheap on this one. But no, it's not being paid.
Thank you, Amy. Other questions? Yes.
Hey, Bill Clarkson, District 1. My question was, as part of the FEMA grant that would be part of this, I think part of it is that it has to be completed by October 2025. Do we have any assurances in the GMP or the contract, the construction contract, that that timing can be met?
Ed, you got... Ed, come on down. The man of the hour. Thank you, Ed.
Hello. Ed Gentile, Director of Public Works. I'm usually not on this side over here, but
A little bit louder.
how about now? Can you hear me now?
There you go.
I'll hold it closer. Right now, we do have a contract and a schedule that we can meet those deadlines for FEMA. To my disappointment, what we don't have is FEMA giving us something that says they're going to pay us. So we first have to meet the deadline, and then we have to submit all our applications for audit. Then we'll see what they come back with.
Thank you. Other questions from the body? Okay, electors of the town? Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please rise. Opposed? And abstentions? I don't see any. Okay. Well, while we're counting the votes, we'll go ahead and move on to the Town Hall Union contract. Speaking on behalf of the Finance and Budget Committee, Jack Davis.
You know, in my 50s, I was a little bit taller, so I have to move this down now. I am Jack Davis, District 3, RTM Finance and Budget Committee Chair. I move 2434, resolution to consider the contract between the Town of Darien and the Darien Town Hall Employees Union. Do I have a second? I'll take Jimmy. If there's no objection, I will waive the reading of this resolution. Now, if you look at the heading that's on that resolution, it says to approve. But we talk about this every time we're at a union contract. With union contracts, the RTM is not approving the contract. We are voting not to reject the contract. So a yes vote is a vote not to reject. Just as long as this is a positive as fits the negative. The contract covers employees working in the town hall and several individuals working at the police department. At one time, it also covered the 9 employees working in the civilian dispatch, the telecommunicators, but that group has established their own union and are no longer part of this contract. There are 34 positions in this union. Currently, there are 2 vacancies, one in the police department, and I wrote the other in the sewer. They're not in the sewer. They work for the sewer department. In one of my last memos from Kate Bush, I'm going to give you the breakdown of the employees by department. The assessor has 2, the building department 5, the fire marshal 3, human services 1, land use 5, park and rec 1, police 8, public works 2, selectmen's office 1, sewer 1, tax collector 2, and town clerk 3. So that's the breakdown. This covers a period which is 4 years. Providing the RTM does not reject, the employees will be paid the incremental salary because it actually goes back to July 2024 as the start of this contract, on the second pay period after the RTM vote. Now, the incremental salary has already been in the budget, but not in each of the departments. Whenever the town is negotiating contracts, there is a contingency, a salary contingency fund, which has the money in there. Upon not rejecting the contract, those funds will be allocated to the various departments by the request by the Board of Selectmen and the Director of Finance and the Board of Finance. So we're not going to see it, but it's going to be taken out of the contingency, and therefore there will be no effect on this year's budget. The other thing that's very important to understand is that there are 6 job grades which specifically identified in the contract. So there's various job titles, each of them are assigned to a grade, and there's 6 of them. There are also 8 steps. Now, an employee, providing they've worked more than 6 months as of June 30th, moves to another step. So that means somebody has reached the top step after working here a total of 8 years, providing that first one started at 6 months. At this time, 40% of the employees are at the top step. By the end of the contract, providing no separation of service, 70% of the current employees will be at that top step. So as they go through, usually somebody gets an increase because we've just increased what each of those steps are worth, plus they're moving a step, so they get that increase also. But with 70% or approximately 21 of our employees being at the top step, they would only get the increase because there's no more steps to go. The general wage increases for this are, as of July 1st, 2024, 3%. As of 25, July 1st, these are all July 1st dates, 3%. In 26, 2.8, and in 27, 2.8. When you actually look, another one of my last communications with Kate before she left, if you look at what the real cost of this is, when you consider some of the givebacks that I'm going to talk about and other changes, it ends up being about a 3.15% increase over the life of the contract, with, if you consider what the inflation has been and everything, is a very reasonable amount. I will take this opportunity to also say we have great elected officials in this town. This town works because of the employees we have in Town Hall who make our lives very easy to work. So, you know, we have to consider these are the people that really keep this machine running. There is some changes on the medical plan. They're increasing in what their contribution to the medical plan is. For the first 2 years at 12%, moving to 13% in 27. And we have an increase that always goes at the last day of the contract, moves to 14%, because just in case we haven't completed the new contract, at least the medical insurance is at the new level that we want it to be. Cost savings on the above medical plan are anticipated to be $10,500 per year based upon current premiums. The deductibles for the HDHP will be $2,000 for employee, $4,000 for employee plus one, and for family. Effective on the July 25th, the town hall shall offer a voluntary option for employees to elect a medical plan with a higher deductible of $2,500 for employee and $5,000 for the employee plus one or family. There is dental insurance. Vision is shared 50-50 between the employee. There is a longevity pay for those who were hired before July 1st, 2014. If you were hired after that date, you don't get longevity. It's done on the basis of 10 years. For 10 years, you get $350, 15, it's $450, and for 20 years, you get $650. Employees can opt for time off instead of overtime pay. However, that vacation or opting time off has to be taken in the year in which it incurred. It can't be carried over. Now, it's interesting because I was asked the question, is the 4-day work week in the contract? And the answer is yes. But you have to understand that because we do have people out in the field, there are some of our field reps who work week is Monday through Thursday, and other people, especially in the building committee department, their work week is Tuesday through Friday, because essentially we have somebody at most of these large building sites on a daily basis. There is standby pay because some of our employees really are on call 7 days a week. So that was something that was added in. One of the big changes was, if you recall, for new employees, we moved away from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution. And initially, that was a 5% required payment. That has now moved to 7%. So we match that 7%. The employee puts in 7%. They are always entitled to what they put in, but they don't get the town side until after 5 years, because that's called a 5-year cliff. But that's a great change for the department. There were some changes to vacation and carryover, but overall, in reviewing this contract, the terms and conditions, and the fact that we're talking about the people that keep this engine running, we felt that this was a very reasonable contract. And the RTM Finance and Budget Committee met and unanimously voted not to reject this contract and recommends the same to the full RTM. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Now, the Rules Committee, looking at the contract, realized that every committee in the RTM could report on this, since it covers about every department in town. So we left it up to the committees as to who would like to report. I know for a fact that the Park and Rec Committee met and reported, so I'll recognize Adele Coniff to report on the activities of her committee. Are there any other committees who wish to report on this? Okay, Amy, well, you're next.
Should I review it again? Should I review it again? Oh, my goodness. Okay. No, thank you. That was a joke, guys. The Parks and Adele Coniff, RTM Parks and Recreation Committee Chair. The Parks and Recreation Committee met on September 11th and reviewed the proposed DTHEU contract. Parks and Recreation Department has one member in the union. With 11 members in attendance, one on the cell phone, constituting a quorum, the committee voted unanimously to not reject the settlement. Thank you.
Speaking on behalf of Planning, Zoning, and Housing, Amy Zabatakis.
Hi, Amy Zabatakis, Planning, Zoning, and Housing. At our meeting on September 12th, the Planning and Zoning and Housing Committee voted unanimously to not reject the contract, which covers 10 members of the Building Department and Planning and Zoning Department, over which we oversee. Thanks.
Other committees? Okay. Town officials? I don't see any. Members of the body, comments? Okay. Electors of the town? Looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please rise. The results on 24-33, Gorham's Pond, 61 in favor, 3 abstentions. Okay. No votes, please. And abstentions. Well, we'll proceed here while we're putting the votes together. I talked to Krista. She did not receive any nominations for the Blight Commission. Are there any nominees from the floor to serve on the Blight Commission? Okay, seeing none. Yes, yes, Jim. Yes, Republican. Other questions? Okay, well, we will continue to work on finding a Republican to fill this position on the Blight Commission and move to the next item. We have to vote each one of these easements separately, but Amy Zabatakis is, her committee is primary on this, and she'll probably do just one report on all 3, and then we'll take each one separately. So, speaking on behalf of Planning, Zoning, and Housing, Amy Zabatakis.
Hi, good evening again. Amy Zabatakis, District 5, Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee Chair. There are 3 resolutions pending for Eversource easements on town-owned property at Holmes School, Hindley School, and Royal School. If there's no objection, I'd like to move the first resolution, and then I'm going to just do one report covering all 3 of the easements and 3 resolutions. But then we'll have to vote on that first one, and then we'll have to move the other two. So first, I move Resolution 2435, approving the grant of easements on Royal Elementary School to Eversource. Do I have a second? All right, Jenny, thank you. Without objection, I'll waive reading of the resolution. Eversource is requesting an easement across each of the 3 elementary school properties for the installation of its equipment and lines to provide electric service to these 3 elementary schools. At a regular meeting on September 12th, 2024, the PZ&H committee reviewed these easements and noted that they are necessary and are located over paved area, so there does not appear to be any additional tree or landscaping removal associated with the granting of these easements. With 8 of our 14-member committee present, constituting a quorum, we voted in favor of the easements and encouraged the RTM to do the same. Before we vote on the easements, however, I do want to note that subsequent to our meeting, I was informed that on the easement document itself and on the associated map, the owner of the property was listed as the Darien Board of Education. As we know, and as is correctly stated in the resolution, the property is owned by the town. So those documents have been revised by town council so that they read, the grantor is the town of Darien, and the maps similarly will be changed to show that the owner of the property is the town of Darien. This change does not impact the substance of the easements, but merely corrects this error as to the owner of the property. So I think with that.
I use my new mic. Any other committees wish to report? Okay, any comments from town officials? Seeing none. Any comments from the body? Looks like we're ready to vote. Electors of the town? Okay, ready to go? Yeah, we're doing 24-35. We got to do each one separately. All those in favor, please rise. The results on 24-34, the union contract, 63 in favor, 1 abstention. Motion passes. No votes, please. And abstentions. See none. Okay. So, Amy, go ahead and, while we're collecting those, we can move the next one.
Okay. So the second, I move Resolution 2436, approving the granting of easements on Holmes Elementary School property to Eversource. Do I have a second? Thank you. Without objection, I'll waive reading of the resolution and move directly to a vote based on the report that was given in connection with Resolution 2435.
No other committees wish to report? No town officials? Okay, members of the body, comments? All right, electors of the town, none. Okay, looks like we're ready to vote almost. Got to wait for the district chairs to get back so they can count the next votes. All right. All those in favor, please rise. Oh. If the district chairs, if it's unchanged, just let us know, and we can move the process along. If it's unchanged, you don't have to come, you can just wave. Okay. Okay, Amy?
Okay. Third, I move Resolution 2437, approving the granting of easements on Hindley Elementary School to
We're
Eversource.
30.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Without objection, I'll waive reading of the resolution and base my report on the same as was given in connection with Resolution 24-35.
Okay. Other committees? No? Town officials? See any? Members of the body? No. Electors of the town? I see none. All those in favor, please rise. we got 37, right? Okay.
Clara, you're unchanged? Frank, unchanged?
Right. Next is item 2438, speaking on behalf of PH&S, Mac Patrick.
I'll get a shot at this. Hi, I'm Mac Patrick, Chair of Public Health and Safety, and I move Resolution 24-38, appropriate $78,554.50 for the opioids legal settlement. Without objection, I will waive the reading of the resolution. Do I have a second? Thank you. The Public Health and Safety Committee met virtually on Wednesday, September 18th, with 8 of 13 members present in a special meeting, hearing a presentation from Mindy Shambrelli, Darienne's new health director. She explained the request to appropriate the full amount of the funds received to date from the opioid settlement program. She noted the town has committed to funding the Teen Talk mental health counselor position at the Middlesex Middle School, a program already well received and successfully implemented at the high school. The approved use of these funds includes treatment, prevention, and other strategies that include supporting greater access to mental health services and support for young people that, when not properly addressed, can increase the risk of opioid and other drug misuse. Mindy made it clear that all of the uses of this money, now and in the future, will follow and comply with the approved uses that have been outlined in the settlement agreements. She expects to receive funds for the next 18 years, but notes there is no set dollar amount for the future. Our committee noted the appropriation and future ones will be administered by the Health Department. The RTM is approving the acceptance of the settlement money, and to be clear, not the allocation of the money, as the Health Department will make these decisions with input from the Advisory Board of Health. The Public Health and Safety Committee voted unanimously to approve the appropriation and ask the full RTM to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac. Speaking on behalf of the Finance and Budget Committee, Jack Davis.
You know, I'm happy that Seth moved this down, otherwise I was going to have to jump there following Mac. I'm Jack Davis, District 3, RTM Finance and Budget Chair. Mac, thank you for that excellent report. I will be focusing solely on the financial aspects of this resolution. The amount in this resolution is the actual cash that we have received to date. It is in a special opioid grant fund. The approval of this appropriation, as Mac mentioned, will allow the Health Department to use these funds for various opioid-related programs without going back to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, or the RTM for each programs. Funds not used during the course of a year will stay in the grant fund. It's not swept into the general fund. This is what those funds are used. As mentioned, various amounts will be given to the town over the next 18 years. The amounts will differ, and therefore, as they say in the commercials when they're talking about investments, current returns cannot be guaranteed in the future. In other words, we got $78,000 this year. We're not sure how much in cash we will have next year and over the 18-year period. Thus, what is being spent must be spent judiciously as to not increase the Board of Selectmen operating budgets, because we're going to spend something this year, and if it's a multi-year commitment, that is adding to the Board of Selectmen, and I know the Board of Selectmen will be involved should that be the case. I've been told that whilst $40,000 is currently being allocated to the Middlesex Teen Talk program, which is an excellent program, the town's contribution is anticipated to decrease over the next few years. Without question, this is a Board of Ed expense. Now, in addition to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the RTM, should expect a similar resolution, with the amounts differing, on an annual basis. I raised this to Jennifer Chinesky. I'll save Krista for explaining that, the director of our finance department, to see whether or not that becomes part of the budget process in May, whether or not we do it in June, or whether or not every September we're going to see this coming through. But on an annual basis, as we continue to allow the health department to manage these funds and manage them on a timely basis, we should be expecting this over the next course of years. And I promise 18 years from now, I will not be standing up here and giving this report. The Finance and Budget Committee voted unanimously to approve the appropriation and recommends the same to the full RTM. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Other committees wish to speak? Okay. Electors of the town, or town officials? No. Members of the body? Yes, Clara.
Hi, I'm Clara Sartori, District 2, member of the RTM Education Committee. A question, why was this item not assigned to the Education Committee as well, since it involves expenses that will, according to the report, be at one time given over to the Board of Ed and be in their budget? So I guess it's kind of a Rules Committee question.
It didn't come up, and error on the Rules Committee's part. We always welcome hearing from the Education Committee.
Well, just to respond, the committee didn't meet and might have met if they had known this was.
I know, that's the problem. Otherwise, I'd have you report now, but, the committee didn't meet, I understand. Yeah. Other comments from the body? Okay. Electors of the town, looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please rise. Results of the voting, 24-37, Hindley, 63 in favor, 1 abstention. Motion passes. Results 24-35, Royal, that's also passes, 63 in favor, 1 abstention. No votes, and 24-36, Holmes, that passed as well, 63 in favor, no noes, 1 abstention. Next, Jack Davis of the F&B Committee asked to brief us on the American Rescue Plan Act funds, update on where that stands. So, Jack?
I'm Jack Davis, District 3, Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee. I wanted to give you an update on what has transpired a little bit over the summer and where we are with this. Originally, and I'm going to use round numbers because I'm not going into 32 cents in that, and it's late and people want to go home. Originally, we were given $3.4 million. Of that amount, $4,585,000 as of August 16th has been spent. There's another $790,000 that is encumbered, which means they're planning to spend that. And there's another $993,000 that is still what we would call unobligated. So let me go through just and remind everyone some of these numbers. By the end of December 31st, 2024, the amounts need to be under a firm contract. If we put in $50,000 in the contract and we spend $49,000, that's $1,000 that has to go back to the federal government. In addition, the projects have to be completed and the bills received by December 31st, 2026, which if we have a longer project that gets delayed and it's only 3/4 done, we would be able to take only 3/4 of that project, and the rest would have to, of the funds that we allocated, would have to be returned to the federal government, and either the remaining amounts would have to be coming out of the Board of Finance capital contingency account, or we'd have a special appropriation to complete that project. Now, that being said, that's not to say this isn't being monitored very closely. During the summer in August, one of the first moves that transpired, and I'm going to go through this, is that several projects that were in our capital reserve, which we knew we could get the exact amount and purchased and funded within this time frame, were moved into the ARPA funds. They included replacement of the hose for Norotan Heights Fire Department, the Darien Fire Department hose replacement, and the Darien Fire Department thermal cameras. Also, the Park and Rec standing blower. So they were moved into that. They were closed out in the reserve fund for capital and closed into their contingency. And then the Norotan Heights Fire Department joint and mortar repair for $87,000 was removed from ARPA and moved into our capital account. During that time, this is one of the few times that the Board of Finance actually had to do approval of these transactions, because I have stated before and I'll state again, the allocation, because we approved as an assembly the full amount, and we had some placeholders there, but we weren't approving specific placeholders, we were approving the full appropriation. The allocation in which projects are done are at the total discretion of the Board of Selectmen. They're the ones that control this. That's what we authorized. When it goes to the Board of Finance, it is almost an accounting entry in most cases to approve the appropriation so the monies can be spent, but they're not really approving the project. All we needed was the Board of Selectmen to do it. This actually was different, because the Board of Finance had to approve closing out certain capital projects and then moving in some new projects into the capital account to handle that. So some of the ones that were also moved into the capital contingency was, we started with $191,000. We added back the projects that I mentioned, and one of the things is the hoses we had done in a 2-year process, 30,000 one year, 30,000 the other. We actually moved that up also, so it's 60,000 there. The renovation of room 206 was decided we're not doing it, so that was moved out and moved into the capital account, and the joint motor was done also for their capital contingency, so we ended up with 166. It's my understanding that all department chairs have been requested to tell what the status is of each one of these projects. And they're reporting into, at that time, the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen, which will be reviewing the projects that we have. I anticipate that over the next 2 months or 3 months, we're going to see similar movement, because I know that the Board of Selectmen is as cheap as I am, and have no intention of returning a single dollar to the federal government if we do not have to. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Results on 24-38, the opioid settlement, 63 in favor, no noes, 1 abstention. Motion passes. I'll accept the motion to adjourn. All in favor, please rise.